Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Lionel Tech Lead and partner at Westfold. And just 2 weeks ago, something really interesting happened to me. First time in the YouTuber history, I was at a networking event. I haven't been to one of these in ages, right? Ever since COVID, actually before COVID, and genuinely a bit of a waste of time. But I decided, hey, it's time to get a little bit social. COVID's over. Let's go meet a couple of people. So I went out, and first time in my life, suddenly a guy comes up to me and says, hey, you look really familiar. And I was like, okay, you know my companies, I'm a CTO of some of these things, one of these things. And then she said, no, I can't really put it. I know where you are. You've got a YouTube channel, right? And bang, first time in history, someone recognizes me from the YouTube channel. And I was really happy about that. I'm like a mini celebrity in that event. But then after a little chatting, a little while, right, he said something that really gave me a stun, gave me a surprise. He said, I love your channel, but aren't you a little bit nutty over PHP? And at that point of time, I was like, whoa, because PHP is the language that launched this entire channel. And I know I come across the channel being very pro PHP, but what you're seeing is a small slice of the overall knowledge that I have in the business. And I have to be that way because I have to get the point across to a lot of people who are the opposite of wokeness out there. I'm very far from the nutty PHP person, mainly because I work with so many languages. Now, this is different from all the other guys out there, right? Who I would consider nutty about language when they don't use the language they're criticizing. So I'm a tech lead and I've been using software development languages for all the time. And especially early in the career, right? You don't really have a choice. If a job requires this language, you try to make do with it and try to go through that thing. And I've gone through the whole process. So I'll give you a history on that so that you guys know where I'm coming from. So not that I will love PHP at the start of the whole thing, but I've seen the software evolve. And one of the things I used to use was Angular 1. And I love Angular 1. Great language. Um, Angular 1, right, was the transition for us in PHP 5 when we were going into about 6, the big disaster in PHP 6. And it came about at the point of time where the mobile revolution was just coming up. I think that was early 2012, 2014. I just joined the industry. And one of the problems was that if you were a mobile device, you had to use, there wasn't 4G, it's like a HDAV or whatever it is. The bandwidth was rather large, but the ping was really poor. So if you were waiting for some sort of thing back from the server, right, it took forever. And the solution was, why didn't we put more stuff on the front end, onto the browser itself? Those days, browsers were horrible, It's the time of IE Explorer, Chrome was just coming around, and people were still loading lots of stuff in there. And the idea was tap JavaScript and put a lot of stuff in there. And Angular was that solution, very good. It was kind of the next level of jQuery in a much more formal, much more framework to do a lot more things on the website. And I actually use Angular quite a bit. And that's why I loved Angular, and I didn't have any issue with front end and back end. This stuff hadn't really come out. But then what happened in Angular 2, right, was that big mess up as it's tried to do too much stuff. So a lot of things were happening during that period of time. Angular 2 was coming out, and then some people said, hey, if we're doing JavaScript on the front end, we want to do JavaScript on the back end so that we can have one language to unify everything, and our coders could do everything, and we could make use of the whole idea of non-blocking. And I think I've covered that a few times in the video. Now, what has happened in the last 6 to 8 years since that time? Since that time, a lot of things have happened, and it's a really strange occurrence. The first thing is that networks have become a lot better. If you're on your phone these days, ping is not an issue. We've got 5G that's instantaneous. A lot of these things are coming in. So that's one. Number two, the browsers have become a lot smarter. So the browser is actually doing a lot of work that the code used to do, in that it was doing caching, it was looking at the code. Like now, if you send, it doesn't send the whole web page back. It looks through and recompare some of this stuff. The servers are doing it, a lot of work's handling it. And finally, PHP is also caught up with PHP 7. It's a lot faster, a lot more lightweight, built for the mobile revolution. So where did this leave JavaScript? JavaScript, what they had to do, right, was get more front end. They had to say, look, because these are competing, they had to put more and more stuff happening in the front end. And this is where that big old bifurcation comes from, because JavaScript never meant to be the end-all be-all language, and it's lacking libraries and lacking all these kind of things, becoming very complex. And then the security benefits, of having something on the server side versus on the front end, where people can look through your entire code base, all sorts of stuff happening, and then people launching all sorts of flavors of JavaScript. Ever since the the downfall of the Angular empire, right? Angular by Google fell off, Facebook coming up, vue.js coming up, Sketch and all these guys, not Sketch, the other language coming up. So many of these guys doing so much front end stuff, and they couldn't unify all this kind of thing. And that was the reason why I brought up this issue about being very simple about what you're trying to achieve, trying to deliver this kind of thing. And the point about it is that, be it Python or PHP or the LAMP stack or the Nginx stack, the mean stack, one of the ideas is looking back on your code and saying, what do I want to achieve? And that was the main reason I see so many of these guys who go to university and sort of get led along that this is the correct way of doing things. And then they come out and they, openly criticize PHP without looking at it. So that's one of the major components that why I'm feeling quite strong about it. The second and the big one, right, is a little bit of my backstory of why I fell into PHP and why I love PHP. In that I picked up the language not as a trained computer science person. I'm from the math background and I did not know anything about software development. But what I love about writing code and writing software, right, is how I could use it to solve problems. And as a mathematician, that's what we love doing. We like creating the solution, not really caring too much about how we get it done. It's just making it happen. And the internet to me represented that this had been a break away from the old mold of Unix systems and things broken down in the back end. And people could just go out there and hack away a website and create your stuff like Lego. The best example I feel is it's kind of like that movie, the Lego movie, right? Where that guy, the special, goes out and just creates anything, but everyone just keeps laughing at him. I see a lot of you guys, who have a potential to use coding to build something, have some fun with it, and then the establishment coming out and saying, look, you need to do this, you need to do unit tests, you need to do structures, you need to know all these things, where all you wanted to do, right, as kids, is to do like a Lego thing, even if it looked wrong, to have fun and to solve this problem. And to me, that represents the internet. That was exactly what, if you guys had been around in 2007 and 2009, what the internet looked like. None of these multi-billion-dollar companies. It was, like Yahoo, Jerry's Guide to the World Wide Web. It was homepages. It was messy Facebook with PHP code all over the place. But it got started. Things happen, and the barrier of entry with PHP is so low that so many people are coming in and coding that way. And it is a bit unfortunate, I think, that some people hire people to come in and coders, and they really just abuse whatever scripts that are out there. They don't know what they're doing, and it's all messy and all buggy, and they blame the language. Or they find it's very slow, they blame the language, and then here comes, little snake oil salesperson says, hey, that's wrong. It's not about the code base, it's about how the code is created and who's creating the code. So when I see that, right, I really want to put the channel so that you, if you're thinking like, oh, maybe I need to build some software, maybe I have a problem that I just want to solve, and you're insecure that you don't think you have that skill set, why not just hack it out with a little bit of PHP? And I can tell you some of the best software I ever made, right? It's the stuff that I still use within our company right here today. Our accounting software, our invoicing software, my task management software. And these things were just hacked together. Like the oldest piece of software is still Yi1 over here. And I built that in 2014. Compare that to another language, right, where you have to write, like especially Java, when you have to write tons of classes and then a little piece of code comes out, whereas this creates the whole thing. So I see this stuff and I want you guys to, if you're thinking of breaking that industry or just having fun and solving the problem, to use PHP. If you see me in real life, come up to me, right, and tell me that's the bottom line because the tech lead said so.